What's going on YouTube? This is Jamil here, and I am making a second Yu-Gi-Oh video in a row for today because I also feel that this is something that I've been needing to talk about for a while. And the topic for today is Maxx and whether or not it should be banned. Now, some people would think this is absurd, and I think this is actually a card that has room for discussion and room for a sit-down lecture as to why others should believe that it should stay, and why I believe it should either be limited or just gone for good. And I'm just, for the simple reason, I believe the card is extremely powerful. It's too powerful. For one, it's a hand trap, as I made very clear in the last video I just made. Hand traps are starting to become a very big problem, and some think it how should I say it? Like, some would believe it puts other problems in check. What It's gotten to a point to where if you draw these cards, you just win the game. Like, you draw Maxx, you draw Ghost Reaper, you draw Ghost Ogre at the right time, or Effect Veiler on the right card, you just win. You literally steal the game. One card can just literally, just like that, it feels like Heavy Storm all over again. And what do I mean by this? Well, let's see. When you're playing it, the only exception to this would be metal foes, because they can actually put up pretty big boards by only special summoning once via the pendulum summon, or if they really wanted to, you to draw two to get their fusion to get the extra draw, they could do that. That's an exception. But any other deck, when you sit here and you go first, now, the counter argument, I have made the argument that generally we're in a format to where generally those who go first at the start of the match will just win the match, because they'll go first, they'll get their setup, they'll win game one, and their opponent goes first, they lose game two, and then game three they just choose to go first, and they just win game three, which, as I've said to a few people, I believe that they should change that mechanic in terms of, if it comes down to game three, I believe people should roll the dice again. Like, roll again. That way it's the game one, game two, game three isn't that fixed, because unfortunately that's the format we're in. To where if whoever goes first just wins. Pretty much. Now, in terms of Maxx though, considering it's at 3, it almost doesn't matter, like, if you're going first or not, because you're just going to win. And what do I mean by this? Well, let's see. If I'm playing and I'm going first and my opponent discards Maxx, I have one of two options. I can either finish my setup and give my opponent so much advantage to where it doesn't even matter, because I need to set something up on board. I need to be able to have some sort of protection at the cost of my opponent just drawing 5 to 6 cards. Again, at that point, it doesn't matter. My opponent just has way too much advantage, and they're just going to win. Because they out-resourced you, they have plenty of cards in their hand at this point. They have 11 to 12 cards in their hand to out you. Or I can stop right there and have a very, very weak board, because, let's face it, a lot of these Tier 1 decks aren't really using many traps, period. And you can be damn sure that your opponent at least has one back row removal in their hand, so you can stop right there and leave a weak board, and your opponent will just FTK you, because, again, the format is that fast. To where if you don't put up a decent board, your opponent is just going to steamroll you, and that's what Maxx does for their opponent. When your opponent has Maxx, he's pretty much telling you, how would you like to lose? Would you like to lose due to me having all this advantage, or do you want to lose by just not putting anything and just me FTKing you? That's the point I've been constantly trying to make. And everybody else is saying things like, oh, we need Maxx C, so these first turn boards aren't super crazy. And they're really not. I mean, we've seen time and time again these so-called uncrackable boards being cracked. I mean, look at Kaijus. Kaijus, I believe, are like the most balanced cards in the game. Like in terms of answering boards, it's literally a straight 1-for-1. It's a 1-for-1, and it's extremely hard to stop unless your opponent has Jowgen or Vanities. Then yes, that kind of sucks. But other than that, when you got Crystal Wing Siegfried or Dark Law Rafflesia or Dark Law Tree Toad, ABC Infinity, all you need is the Kaiju over one of the monsters, and you can still play. That's the thing. It's just like, even though your opponent's got these pretty good boards, your opponent also committed a lot of their hand resources, so they have 1 to 2 cards in their hand, and just those monsters on board. If they're lucky, they have a set back row, but you have 6 cards in your hand with a Kaiju in hand. You got rid of the most problematic thing. You can still play. You can still play Yu-Gi-Oh! And both players have an equal opportunity to win the game over the other. But with Maxx C, your opponent just wins. That's pretty much what's Maxx C. Maxx C may as well say, if you're holding this card, you are going to win, unless you're playing against metal foes. Because there's no reason it should be that powerful. I don't know why, but it just is. Maxx C wins games. It steals games. And some decks need those special summons to establish a certain board, especially if it's like a tier 2 deck like Madolche, to where they need to special summon like 15 times just to get something decent, you know. Now, if you're playing against Dark Synchro and you Maxx C, I mean, you lost, you decked out, but the power that Maxx C has it's ridiculous, and especially if your opponent goes first. I mean, it used to be a counterbalancing card. It really did. Back when in wind-up format, it stopped those hand loops from getting really crazy. Your opponent would still have cards in hand. At least with wind-ups, back then they still had we still had a lot of our good stuff though. We still had multiple bottomless trap holes. We still had Solemn Judgment. We still had Shockmaster. We still had things to kind of, yeah, my opponent may plus a little bit, but at the same time, I put pressure on my opponent as well. In today's format, it's like I said, unless you're playing metal foes, it is an all or nothing kind of thing. You either have to commit all to the board, or you stop right there and you get FTK'd. That's just the unfortunate part. That's where the format has gone. And for a format like that, Maxx C is way, way too powerful. It is too strong of a card that just gives your opponent a damn near guaranteed victory. It gives you way too much assurance. And I am kind of glad that they hit it. They hit it to 2, so the opponents using 3s don't just draw it every single opening hand and just steal games. And God forbid if you draw another one, you're definitely winning. There's no way your opponent's coming back. Unless, your opponent has, unless he has game or something. But that's besides the point. My point is, if you're going first, understand that, one, we start off with 5 cards in our hand, so we're already at yes, you're both at an advantage and a disadvantage. You're at a disadvantage due to the fact that you have 1 less card in your hand starting off with. Your opponent's already going to start with 6 cards in their hand, so they're already going to have an extra card to work with to try and out your board. Make matters worse with Maxx C, And they have extra cards, and they're just going to sit there with one trap because most decks now are just using maybe 4 traps. And that's the unfortunate part. And my opponent can just go MST, Twin Twister, activate Union Hanger, do all this stuff. Out your board. Now I have my setup. And if you don't have a Kaiju, which you very well might, but again, who's going to main deck that? I mean, you can side it, but chances are you might not have it due to the fact that you were going off with your first turn play. But anyways, I'm getting off track. Point is, Maxi is too goddamn powerful. It secures your opponent the game, or it secures the holder the entire game. Just in the palm of their hands, and they can activate it at any time. And it's not even Maxx C that I believe needs to be addressed. I believe all hand traps, just period, need to be addressed. There needs to be some sort of like normal spell or quick play spell that's like a cold wave for the hand. Again, Mind Drain is a card, but it is too goddamn slow. You have to set it, you have to forfeit a turn, and that's that. You forfeit your turn, you just lose. Quick play spell that says, cards and effects in hand can't be activated for just this turn, that's healthy. I believe that's healthy. Especially now when ABC Dragon Buster is soon to be coming out on the rise. Therefore, Ghost Reaper will start being much more played. So, with that being said, I mean, Prohibition is still a card. I mean, I'm citing 3 because Pot of Avidity is not out yet. I mean, yes, calling Ghost Reaper Winter Cherries is actually good because your opponent draws multiples, and you Avidity, and they have another one, then you're back to square one. But I'd still rather have a quick play, or some sort of normal spell that just shuts down the hand for just one goddamn turn. Just shut down the hand. I'll think of it this way, and it's healthy. I mean, you got all these, you got everything else, every other spell card in the game that can shut down mechanics for on the turn that you're playing in as well. On the turn you're playing, you have these spells that can lock down the grave, that can shut down the field, like both players' fields, and all that other mess. But we don't have anything to lock down or shut down the hand on the player's turn. Why don't we? Why hasn't Konami admitted that maybe hand traps are getting too powerful because they are damn near impossible to stop because nobody's going to side Mind Drain. Nobody's going to side Mind Drain because it's too slow. You have to set it, and you have to worry about it getting blown up and not worried about getting FTK'd because you're too scared to make a play because Ghost Reapers, if you're going game 2 and your opponent says you can go first, you can guarantee that they have Ghost Reaper. And so you don't set anything, and you just get FTK'd, and you just lose. So, let me know what you guys think in terms of hand traps. A lot of you still think it's healthy, and at a time, it was. But due to the format we're in right now, it's incredibly stupid, and it's incredibly powerful. Literally, if I'm playing ABC Dragon Buster, and they go, let's not even use Ghost Reaper as an example because that's an obvious one. I go Union Hanger, and I go normal Silver Gadget, and you just go Valor. You literally just stopped them. Literally just got stopped. Like they literally cannot do anything else. Like period. If you're playing the rank 4 build, again, I'm playing the rank 5 build, so I'm going to be playing Galaxy Soldiers. I'm going to be playing Brilliant Fusion. I can keep going. But I'm looking out for the majority and the little guy. If you get Valor, you lost. Like, period. They're going to sit on one gadget and one strike. Maybe. If they drew it. And they're going to get outed. And they're just going to cry and lose because Valor. You can't stop it. And that's the point I've been trying to make. You need to make a way to stop hand traps on the turn that you're, on your turn. Play spell card. Cards of and effects in hand can't be activated. Just for this turn. That's healthy. That includes your hand traps too. Just to balance it. But yeah. Let me know what you guys think about that. And I am signing out.